Today we're going to be building this knife using the new hunting knife edition of the Build a Knife box from the Alec Steele company. We made these boxes to be able to provide you guys with a beautifully designed knife blank along with all of the raw materials that you're going to need to be able to build this right alongside us, so your early work can get started off on the right foot. The boxes come with a 1080 high carbon steel knife blank that were cut by our good friends at Flow Waterjet on their awesome machines. They build some really great water jets. Make sure to go give them a follow on Instagram so you can learn more about their equipment. The tools that you guys are going to need to be able to build this knife are really pretty simple. We've got some quench oil here to be able to harden our knife, some 1x30 abrasive belts. We've got a Harbor Freight 1x30 belt sander, a couple clamps, a bernzomatic TS8000 torch. It's important that you get the TS8000, the other ones won't get the knife hot enough to be able to harden it, a hacksaw, a drill, some epoxy, and a little bit of hand sanding paper. You're also going to need a bench vise or a way to hold the knife down while you drill into it and finish out the handle and stuff like that. What we're going to do is we're going to start off by grinding our bevels. This is actually one of the hardest parts of knife making, but good abrasives and a good belt sander really help. So essentially what we're doing is we're carving the bevels into the blade that will allow it to have a cutting edge like this. We're going to be using this $50 Harbor Freight 1x30 belt grinder. It's a fairly underpowered machine, but it'll do the job on this knife so long as you get good belts for it. I'm going to be using some 3M Cubitron 984F belts. If you're going to be using a 1x30, investing in good sanding belts is a really important thing to do. So we're going to head into the grinding room, but before we do that, I recommend you guys go head over to Alec Steele Co. and pick up a Build a Knife box. We've got a limited supply of them and they're going to sell out pretty quick. We're going to start off grinding at an aggressive angle, breaking the hard 90-degree edge of the blank. After we get the edge down to about a 1/16 of an inch, we'll begin to pull the grind back towards the spine without thinning out the edge. Once you've got a good flat established, I find the easiest way to continue to match that angle is to keep the blade loose in my hands so it self-adjusts quickly to rest on the flat. Then I tense my hands and push harder to remove material. Now that we've got the bevels ground and looking clean, we're going to heat treat it using a bernzomatic TS8000 torch and some quenching oil. This is parts 50. You can use canola oil though. That works just fine as well. The whole blade's starting to get a nice dull red color. And so now I'm going to start painting the edge back and forth like this. You don't want to move the knife side to side when you're quenching it. You can warp it that way, so you want to be careful of that. Let it cool down for about 10-15 seconds in here. There we go. Hopefully that got hard enough. We'll test it with a file and find out. Skates a file nice and easy. Time to temper it. We're going to do this in one of our Paragon heat treating ovens. You don't need that to temper a knife. You can do it in just a simple home oven or even a little toaster oven. We're going to temper this in two 2-hour-long cycles at 400 degrees.
Stop right there! We've got to thank today's sponsor, which is Verb Energy. It can get pretty exhausting to be working here in the workshop, and it's very important to make sure that we stay properly fueled and also properly caffeinated. We are often finding that we need a quick boost of energy, which is why it's awesome. The Verb bars are infused with organic green tea, which means you get energized without feeling exhausted later. That each bar has 90 calories and as much caffeine as an espresso. Oh my goodness, this is my new favorite flavor. Lemon raspberry. This is delicious. My previous favorite flavor was maple blueberry. Lemon raspberry is now my favorite. They're gluten-free, dairy-free, and vegan. They got a variety of flavors. The compact size of the bar makes it convenient to energize, and they'll deliver right to your door. You can get a trial pack of Verb bars for less than $1.95, and it's just the price of shipping. They'll deliver a trial pack to your door. Get it risk-free by hitting up my link in the top of the description. Back into the video.
Here we are. We've got our tempered, hardened knife, and it's now time to do our post-heat treat cleanup. We're going to start off with a 120 grit belt, and then we're going to work our way up through the Trizact grits here, starting off at A100, which is about 180 grit, and working our way to A30, which is about 600 grit, and that'll be a really nice satin finish that we'll be able to leave on the blade. So let's hop back into the grinding room and get this thing cleaned up. right, now that we've got the blade ground to 400 grit, we're gonna go ahead and work on the handle. Now we're gonna be using this nice set of Sonoran Desert ironwood. This is a super dense, very stable, really nice looking wood. And these scales come pre-flattened, so all we've got to do is figure out where we need to drill our holes, cut our profile, and shape it up. So when we're laying out where we want the holes to be on here, we're gonna lay it off-centered so that we only have to do a hacksaw cut on one side, as opposed to if we put it in the center, we'd have to remove material from both sides. Next, what we'll do is trace our profile. We're gonna take our clamps, we'll get the other one on there as well. We're gonna throw this in our bench vise here. Next, we'll take the 1/8 inch drill bit that comes in the Build a Knife box, and we'll throw it in our hand drill. We're gonna drill straight down through each of our holes here. Our next step is going to be cutting a little piece of pin stock using our hacksaw. We just need these pieces of pin stock to be thick enough to go through both scales and the knife. And then we're going to want to chamfer the ends with the belt grinder. Next, what we'll do is we'll drive this pin stock through the back side of the scale, so we've got just a little bit poking out, and we're going to do that for the front and back pinholes. Now we can line up our knife on that pin stock. We can take our other scale and line it up just like that. Next, we'll pull out our pins, and now we can throw this back in the bench vise, and we're going to drill through using the holes that we just drilled last time, and that way everything will be lined up really nice during the final fit up. Now we can pop off our clamps, and look at that, it lines up awesome. We've already got our outline on this side, and now we're going to pop our pins through the second scale and outline where our scale sits on here. So we've got 2 scales, 3 holes in them each. And it's time to throw these back in the bench vise, and we're going to cut out big slabs with the hacksaw. Now you want to pop those 3 brass pins into the backside of one of the scales, lay the knife blade on top, hammer it through using a table, or you can use a hammer, and bing, bang, ow. We got ourselves 2 scales that fit on there just swell. Now we're going to head back into the grinding room and grind all of this flush to the tang using a fresh 60 grit belt. Next, we're going to shape and finish the tops of the scales. We're going to do this now because we won't be able to do it after glue up. I'm going to get it cut with a hacksaw and then sanded to 400 grit before oiling it. All right, we're actually now ready to glue up our knife. We've got the tops of our handle scales shaped. We're going to take our mixing cup, our mixing stick, and our 2-part epoxy, and we're gonna go ahead and mix ourselves up a little glue. Give this a good mixing, and now we'll pop our pins through the back side of one of our scales. Then on goes the glue. You actually don't need a ton of glue, so I just do a nice thin coating, and now the knife goes on. We can apply some more epoxy to the tang, and now we get our other scale on there, and we'll knock the pins all the way through. I'm doing 1 clamp in between each set of pins. We'll just wipe off the top of that scale and we'll let the glue dry. This thing came out just splendidly. I had a ton of fun building this knife using not a whole lot of tools. I hope that this video inspired you guys to step out of your comfort zone, to go get in your home shop, and to build a beautiful knife, knowing that you don't need a whole lot of tools to do it. Now we're going to be doing a challenge surrounding this knife. Now for those of you who bought a Build a Knife box perfect. Go ahead, build it out with the ironwood and the brass pins. And for those of you who don't want to build a knife box and you want to do it all from scratch, you can go ahead and build a similar looking knife with ironwood scales and brass pins and post it on Instagram using hashtag #BuildAKnife. If you guys do that, you're going to be entered to win $200 on the online store, with the winner being chosen at random. Now, if you want to be entered to win another $150 at the end of November and at the end of December, use hashtag AlecSteelCo150 for that. And again, another big thank you to Verb for being today's sponsor. I'll catch you guys on the next one.